Three, two, one. Hey everyone, Harry Welchel here. Today I have Evan Fisher from Unicorn Capital. We're going to be talking about how Evan added 60,000 in sales over the past 2 months using a social proof driven sales process. So Evan, why don't we kick it off with this? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So, super simple. Evan Fisher of Unicorn Capital, aka Unicorn Business Plans. And what we do is extremely simple. Um, we eat investment banks lunch for them. We do what they are supposed to do a lot better and for a fraction of the price. So, we do business plans, pitch decks, financial models. Our clients have even dragged us into doing websites and graphic design and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that's the crux of it. We just do it better than them for a lot less than they do. So yeah, that's us.
That's amazing. So Evan, like how did you get into this? How did Unicorn business plans get started?
So we started off. It was like a sort of magic moment where um, I was raising money for as an investment banker. I used to be an investment banker, and I was raising money for a business out of the UK, and um, I successfully closed around for 4 million. Right, they raised 4 million, and so everything was great, and ended up going to work with them afterward as a just like a one-off type of consultant thing. And so 18 months into that, the CEO of the company comes to me and says, "Hey, listen, can you do our documents, our what we're going to put in front of investors? Can you put them together again?" And I said, "Absolutely, no problem." And he said, "What we're going to do something a little bit different this time around. We're not going to do the black and white, investment banker special, because that's not going to convince anybody of anything. So what we want to do is we want something that is just super punchy in terms of story, that has all of the financials that we're going to need, and none of the bullcrap that's going to throw us off track. And on top of that, we want it to look absolutely amazing, like just dynamite hitting on every single cylinder. And that's the package that we want." And so we did that, and it ended up really fantastic, particularly for them. They ended up raising 40 million thereafter. So basically, like to track it, they raised four, and then 18 months later raised 40, and then 2 years later raised 100. And I just actually was texting the CEO, and he's like, "Yeah, we just did another deal." And like, so anyway, that process, like, it stuck with me, and a
Had you
lot of
done some decks like that beforehand as a
yeah,
banker? But it was like, what was the
it was
transition
garbage.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so everything that I was taught when I was a banker was, here's the standard, and here's what you got to do, and here's, you know, this is our standard format, and you have to do that. And I always looked at it and I'm like, "Guys, this is kind of garbage. You're the analyst, or I mean, even up to like vice president level, they're like, no, this is our format, and this is what you got to do because this is what's expected in this sector." And I'm like, that still doesn't convince anyone, guys. And so basically, when I got to go out on my own and start doing things where I'm like, that's what's really going to work, and that's what's really going to sell. Just sort of stumbled upon it in this process, and yeah, it ended up being successful. So a bunch of my previous clients from the investment bank came back to me and said, "Hey, we want that too. Can you do that for us?" And so then it just sort of grew and grew and grew from there. And we went from one person to now we're like, I don't know, 10 going on 15. Just hired two more people this week. And it's been a sort of just growing process, fully remote, everything just super distributed and fantastic. We had a great group of people doing absolutely amazing things. And what ended up, like, we try and track our stats. And what ended up happening is we look back at all the people that we've put this product together for, and 85% of them are successfully raising. And all in all, of what we know of, collectively, they've raised $1.2 billion.
Hot
So,
dog.
I mean, it's mega.
Dude, that's amazing. So what type of companies do you guys work best with? Is there a certain class of companies you guys look to work with?
Yeah, so there's definitely a profile, And it's typically a business that has, raised one, maybe two rounds among friends and family. Typically, the sort of threshold that they get to is they either raise like 1 million or 1.5 million amongst their, contacts, and then it's time to go pro. And when you go in front of a VC or big time investors that can cut huge checks, then you got to come correct and you've got to bring your A game because you only get one shot. And if somebody says no, then what happens? It's like a permanent 99.99999. It's if somebody says no in the first meeting, then
They don't come back around.
never. You'll never turn that no to a yes. And so you get one shot. And so it's got to be absolutely, the technical term is fucking dope. So you have that one shot to make the impact. And so when you have to go from friends and family into going pro for that like 5 million, 10 million round, that's where that's the sort of angle where we work with a lot of people, but equally well, we end up working with a lot of experienced people too, because they know this already and they already know what's on the line. And so we end up working with a lot of people out of like the Boston community, just by nature of the fact you have Harvard, MIT, a lot of biotech people, and just a lot of experience. And when people understand what reputation is, then it just it is a massive accelerator. And I definitely need a pro level pitch for going in front of these investors.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. And so like what sort of, just brag a minute for about your clients. Like what sort of investors or institutions do your decks get in front of?
I mean, so SoftBank 9 times in the last 9 months. Let's see, Mark Cuban, Richard Branson has backed two of our companies. Let's see, every accelerator you can think of, tons of celebrities, Kevin Hart, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy Group last week, Zillow, Google Ventures, directors of Apple. I mean, just any VC that you can think of. Just the only one that comes to mind that we haven't been in front of. I know that we've been in front of Damon John. I know that we've been in front of Kevin O'Leary, but not on Shark Tank stuff, like where they actually write checks type of stuff. And the only one that comes to mind that we haven't been in front of yet, or that I don't know of, is Warren Buffett. But we'll get there one day. It's like our little white whale.
Does he invest in like new technologies and new companies every once in a while, that type of thing?
He kind of stays away from like tech businesses and whatnot. It's too like it's too cyclical. Not really his cup of tea. He's more of like an old guard going into into the next phase, let's say, rather than your typical tech investor or biotech, which is very specific. We work a lot with people who have a lot of technical things going on, complicated stories where they know that there's something there, but it's just they don't know how to tell it.
Package
And
it.
yeah, and when you package it correctly and slim it down to only the things that you need to be saying, then they end up with something that is actually extremely impactful and also looks good, and you're not giving like TMI all over the place and going off on crazy tangents. You stick to the deal. And when you come off as a pro, me as an investor, I'm not looking at you, as how are you going to raise in this round? It's as an investor, if I see certain markers come up in your pitch to me in this round, I know that if you can raise this round and I see those markers, you can raise the next round too. So as long as your business isn't totally screwed up, I know that you can raise now, tomorrow, next year, next decade. It's more of a skills thing.
Dude, that's so interesting. What it comes to mind for me is I feel like a lot of places in business, there's, what's being communicated on the surface, but there's also like this subtext going on. So you're saying there's like these cues in your decks that say, okay, this person knows
Major
what they're doing and that they're going to raise the next round and the next round. And the investors are picking up on those.
Absolutely. Major strategy, major strategy. Very much, let's say, deep think. We always liken it to a of an iceberg, right? So you only see the tiny little bit beneath, like above the surface. Then there's a massive of what's going on underneath, and that's basically what we do too. So that, for example, if I tell you, we've done this and our business is going to look like that, and I put it in a very specific way, then when we get to Q&A, that's going to elicit a very specific question from you as to, wait, hold on. You said something in there. Tell me more about this. We call it investor inception, where I have gotten you to ask me the question that I'm then going to knock out of the park. So there's so much more strategy in this than you would think. It's one of those things. It's taken a lifetime to hone.
Cool. I love it, man. It's like I love all these. It's like dark arts. The secrets are kind of like the all the just the nuance to these different fields. It's so interesting to me. It's very fascinating, but it makes a ton of sense. So, what do you think like makes you guys really unique about what you guys do? I mean, besides everything we've been talking about, like if you had to sum it up.
So, I could say it's about having the whole package in one place. I could say it's about track record, but that's just like the effect, in fact, of what we have, the value that we've brought to the table. And if I boil it down, I would say that it's just the ability to tell people when they're wrong and tell people when something sounds stupid and do it in a very straightforward manner, because when people come to us, if they're not looking for someone that's just going to say, oh yeah, you're doing great, you're doing wonderful, and everything's fantastic. They're looking for somebody to say, this sucks, but I will show you how to make it better, because these are the things that you need to know now. And if you're trying to learn them on the fly, then you're going to get no after no after no after no after no, all while you're trying to learn these things. We just front load everything and say, okay, that's wrong, but here's what you should be doing. And so it's just when we're working with people, they got to have a thick skin. But the best thing is, the best founders are the ones who can take that advice and just internalize it very quickly and then run with it off into the future very, very fast. And so that's when people do really, really well with us.
Yep. It's like time is of the essence for your clients. The stakes are high. They don't have second chances. So it's like, why would you
Right.
not? It's not like this lean startup thing. Why would you not front load it, make sure it's right, and then just get the outcome you're looking for?
Right. 100%. And like the whole fear is that everybody who has ever raised money knows what the black hole is, and it's where you're in sort of like pause mode, where you just keep trying to raise money, keep trying to raise money, and just keep going to meeting after meeting after meeting, and you end up failing and failing and failing. That's that learning process that gets condensed, from our side. But the black hole comes when you end up, you think that it's going to take you 3 months to close your round. And we're talking millions of dollars on the line here, right? Like not small money. And it ends up taking, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. And all while your business is slowly circling the
What's
drain.
the opportunity cost of that?
It's massive. It's enormous. I mean, we've asked our clients, like, what is that opportunity cost? And, in terms of lost business value. And the way that we frame it is, what would you be able to do? Like, what sort of business value would you be able to generate if I took this check and I wrote it to you today? And, off of a $10 million investment, the loss of that 6 months worth of time is, I mean, we've gotten answers as high as 750 million. That's what I'd be able to do, hands down. That's what I'm missing out on. I mean, it's real. So,
That's amazing. Super interesting. So let's switch gears for a second. Let's go back to the beginning with us 2 months ago. Like, what were you doing before working with us? What was there a specific job you were trying to tackle or something you were looking to solve?
mhm, absolutely. So, before we were working together, I'm going to answer the questions in series. So before we were working together, I would liken it to drowning in the Pacific Ocean, trying to like look around for land. And the reason why I say that is because I always knew that based on the response that we had, because we do a lot of video, we do a lot of, I mean, I probably record Loom videos like 5 times a day regularly. As soon as we get off this call, I'm going to record one. We've had a lot of success with in injecting video into our process. And that's been really, really powerful for us. And so I was always wanting to do video testimonials. And we had tried endlessly to get our clients to do video testimonials for us. And the directive was, okay, here's what we want you to say. Here is how you do it. Here's the software that you need. Here's how long it should be. Here's what we want you to answer. 60 seconds, all it takes. Very simple, nothing crazy. And all I can say is that the results that we got back from that were extremely few and far between. People did not follow through. And when they did, it was not ideal as you would want it. It's always helpful to have that video endorsement from somebody, but what we ended up with was it could have been better. It could have been better. And so the results that we were getting were not ideal, and we couldn't use that content so much. And we have some amazing, just mind-blowing stories of what we have done for people. And the thing is, like, coming out of my mouth, you might not believe it, but if it's coming out of a client's mouth, then it turns into something really, really powerful. And that's one of the things that was evidenced by. I knew that this worked as far as results are concerned because we get a lot of referral business. Like 40% of our clients already are referral business. And when you can say, listen, I shot my deck to Sequoia, not even the final one, the second draft, and Sequoia just snapped up and said, we'll cornerstone the round. You can't have that better. You can't have better than that. And when you hear that from a founder to founder, then it's like, wow, this is really, really legit, right? But capturing that story was always a challenge. Always, always. So that's kind of what we were doing. We're trying to make it work, but it wasn't working.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So you're getting these clients getting these wins, raising round after round after round, and you're trying to collect that proof, but you're not collecting it. And when you do, it's not actually moving the needle for your business metrics the way that you were doing it.
Right. It wasn't doing a great job. But the most important thing was that the clients who we knew who had the good stories too. We knew who had the stories to tell. And we tried to get them to do the video testimonials. And the worst is when they agree to it. And then we end up chasing and chasing and chasing. And we still don't get it. And then when we do get it, it's like, yeah, if it's a letdown, then it doesn't help us at all if we can use it the way as intended. So yeah,
And
that
when
hurts.
when you would email them and like ask them, let's say they did it and you're like, this isn't, I can't use this. Like, would you ask them again, or like with that, is that even possible?
It's
No.
just no, it's not. It's it had we have tried to do that, by the way. We had tried to do that, and it didn't end up being meaningfully better in a way that we could really, really leverage the content. So it was just one of those sticking points where, like, I was looking around, I'm like, what do we do? How do we make this work?
So were you looking, did you try anything else before were working together, or what were you looking at the time?
What had we tried? Um, we had tried asking them for the referral, and that had some results. We built into our process at one point, just whenever we close out, we always ask for the referral because a lot of times it happens. The moment that we started asking for referrals, within 2 months, we ended up with 40% of our business being referrals. And it was just like, oh my God, how were we missing this for so long? And so that was our first step. And then the second step was, let's try and get the video in. And that was like failure. And then we tried follow up to try and get people to just do it in the first instance. And it was just very ineffective. And then we left it, collecting dust, knowing that this is fantastic. We had to leave it collecting dust because there's only so much follow up that we can do with how busy we are, and only so much you can annoy people, and that never works. So we let it go. We let it go for a long time.
Yep, yep. And were there specific like metrics in your business you were trying to influence with these assets? Like were you looking to lift conversion or raise pricing, or like can you speak to like what were there specific business problems that you were trying to solve by collecting more of these assets?
Yeah, one of the things that I think that we've done pretty well with is our intake flow. So in what we do, we always have to be very, very careful on who we agree to work with, because not everybody is a fit, right? But it's more just very, very specific with our business of if you're a bad fit, we cannot work together. We cannot, because with how busy we are, we can't do anything with drama. We can't do anything. We can't sell to somebody who is not a good fit, because it ends up, bad for us, bad for them, bad for everybody, all around, and nobody ends up benefiting. So I'd rather say no to people who aren't a good fit. And truth be told, we turn down like 84% of the people that come our way. And that's not to say that we're not trying to be proud of turning people away, but when someone's not a fit, you cannot take the business. You just can't agree to it, because if it's not going to be a success for them in the end, then it's not going to be a success for us either. So we've been really, really careful in that in that process, and it's always been about reputation for us, always. When we got into this, and early on when it started growing, my thing was always, we're either going to be number one in the world or we're not going to do it. Not at all. And establishing that reputation was always really, really critical for us. And the whole thing is, if people know about that, then it just makes business a lot easier. It makes growth a lot easier. And so focusing on making sure that you're delivering solid results for people, and making sure that you have just a pristine reputation for excellence and delivery on time, and just doing what you say you're going to do. It's such an underrated thing to have a solid reputation. And so as far as KPIs and metrics that we targeted, it just permeates all aspects of our business. Um, we're actively trying to get that Google indexed ranking, where if you get 100 reviews, then it indexes to Google when you search out the business, and it says, oh, 5-star business. So we're trying to get that, and pushing for that, and that's part of this process of collecting client feedback, and just what good, bad, or indifferent, just give us a review and tell us how we're doing. Um, it also impacts a lot in terms of sales. And the more that we can do, the more that we can help people, then it turns into a more flourishing business. And so those are the main areas. And it all comes down to the reputation aspect of it. Because if you got the right reputation among the people who matter, and you're focusing on the clients that matter, that you can really help, then business is going to be easy.
Yeah, it makes me think of like inevitably in your business where you've got people coming in and they might be just really not knowing what they're doing, and they just want to have a business plan, and they're these you have a I bet my point is you have a wide variety of leads that are coming into you. So there's that 15 to 20% of leads that are like the real ones that you really want to work with. So the more you can basically win more of those deals and grow that slice, the better, because you don't want to necessarily serve all those people because you just can't, and it won't get the outcomes you're looking for, and they can't afford it and all that good stuff. This just lets you do what you're doing even better, right? Is that
Exactly.
fair?
I mean, you end up growing the pipe, and having more leads in pipe. And when you're doing it in a very specific manner, then you actually end up with the more volume that you add into the top of the funnel, it actually ends up coming straight down to the bottom as well, because you're adding in good fit people who have vetted you, who have looked at results, and they know what to expect, and they know when they see the proof points that they need as a person, as a potential client, just to believe that, yeah, potentially by working together, I at least believe in the value. If at absolute minimum, I at least believe in the value, and that you're not like a shyster or somebody who's selling smoke or
Fly by
something.
night.
Yeah, it's total credibility. And when you can establish that as an absolute foundation before you've even gotten onto a call with somebody, it's very powerful. Very
Yep.
powerful. And that's the
Yep.
sort of stuff that we've seen in these past couple of days, or
Nice.
months, in fact.
Nice. So let's go back. I don't know if you remember, but like, where did you and I first get connected? Like, was it in like a private Facebook group, or like how did we first get connected?
I had seen some of your posts on Facebook, and I think at some point, I remember exactly where I was. I was laying in bed in like lazy Saturday afternoon, and just the most relaxed that I possibly could be. And I saw that you were based out of Atlanta, and I was like, that's interesting. So I had seen some of your posts, and from people that I know, that I guess we have in mutual contact, and I ended up just reaching out to you, and I was surprised that you got back so quickly. To be fair, I also kind of front loaded it. Like, I'm probably going to be a client who's going to have a pretty good effect from working together. So,
Yeah, so
but
what
the
do you
moment that I saw that what you were doing, and you explained what it is that you were doing, I was like, are you Jesus?
Okay, I love it. I love it. So, like back on those earlier moments where you see those posts and stuff, what piqued your interest at the very top when we first got connected?
Honestly, it was about volume, and you appeared to be somebody who, on a wide variety of topics, I can't remember what exactly it was, but I remember I looked at some of the posts, and it was a bunch of different things, and it appeared that we were in a similar kind of space. And I looked into, it was basically people were asking for advice, and you were just the most helpful guy in each one of those things. And actually, it's not just about being helpful, it's about being giving relevant and pointed advice for a given situation. And so whenever I saw your name pop up, it was associated with something that was intelligent to say. And so at one point, I was just like, you know what, let me reach out and just see what this is all about. And I checked into you, and I had no idea really what you did before we connected, but once you explained to me what you did, I was just like, oh man, you nailed it.
Oh man, I appreciate that. So let's go forward. So what, if you can remember back, what were some of the things that we did together? What was the first thing we worked on as a team? Was it I mean, it had to do with collecting the interviews, but do you remember exactly a little bit more detailed what we worked on?
So we covered a bunch of things. We covered from, let's see, we covered from the interview workflow. We covered how to run the calls, which really was just immensely powerful for me. Just how to run the calls, and the questions to ask, the format to go in, how the sort of process flow worked, post production, just everything. That was the stuff that really turned me on. And then the where you can use the assets, and how, and the application of things. And when and as well as using the vouch software, how do you do that? How do you run people through that flow? And that's that was basically what we covered early on. And but the things that I latched onto the most was the how to run the interview, how to set them up for it, offer the bribe. I even tell people now, like, there's a bribe involved. You're getting money from me when you get on a referral call, like a client interview call, and they love it. And I get a lot of response off of that. So, whatever, if it works, maybe I'm just a person who seems like they would bribe people. you know? So, but yeah, it's every step of that. I'm very much into the strategy of things. And so, we've talked about it in the past of how that client vetting process works on our end. And, you taught me stuff like the status delta, which we use all the time now. So yeah, but those were the things that we had focused on early on.
Yeah, so it sounds like we worked on how to collect the interviews, conduct the interviews, and then how to use them in your marketing, and then also in your sales process itself. Not just like I think one of the things like I come up against again and again is like people think, oh, I get this interview and I just post it on social, and that's all you can do. Like maybe
Yeah.
speak a little bit of that, like how it's this more evergreen thing that you can use in your
And
business.
oh my gosh, yes, it's fantastic. The way that you weave the interviews and all of the content together in just every single touch point across the process, as well as in the wall of proof, and just bring it in every step of the way is enormous. And it's a mega value. And I've had clients reach out to me just saying, "Hey, I watched your video and it's really awesome." And I'm like, "That has nothing to do with you." And like, we're actually working on a separate project together, but they'll come and say, just because it's in my email signature, and I sent them a message and they said, "Yeah, I watched that video. It's awesome, dude. Do more." And I'm like, "All right, well then, when we're done with your project, you're doing one." And it's become this living, breathing thing that just goes throughout our entire process, and we're trying to implement absolutely everything in there. Because when you get all of those touch points, I mean, here's a weird one, right? Here's one thing that I've seen. So the client, in the mid process thing, what we've seen with that, it's very interesting because you always have not so much like buyer's remorse, but that curve of enthusiasm where just when it's at the pinnacle, that's when you've made the purchase, and then you have that fall off,
The
right?
honeymoon phase,
Yeah, the honeymoon phase, and
and then
then
coming off
the
of it.
enthusiasm, and then if it goes too low, then it's like buyer's remorse or disillusionment or whatnot. We've seen, and this is totally unempirical and non-scientific and probably a bunch of bullshit, but we've seen that people in the process, once they get into a certain phase of the process, they're notably, and this is like within 60 days, right? They're noticeably um, just they see and are reminded that the results are tangible. And when we say, you got to do this, you got to hold up your end of the bargain. It's not like, oh man, I thought that I didn't have to do anything. And it's much less back and forth, much less arguing. It's just basically do what we tell you to, because these are the results that people are getting. That's what it says without saying it, because they are watching the videos and we're getting tons of views. We're from, I don't know where they're coming from. So
That's
yeah,
so funny.
that's
I've seen that exact same thing in my own business where like I've had clients who I'm trying to convince them of doing something a certain way, and I'm getting all this resistance. And then
yeah,
they'll watch an interview, and then literally instantly they're like, "All right, I get it. I'm doing that."
get it now. Yes, yes. Now I understand why you do that. Yes,
And
exactly.
I'm like, "Wow, I did not know this was going to actually help me serve my clients better." But like to me, I think these are like like they're almost like
It's not even on
submarine
the sales
assets.
side.
They're like in the sales process and in your actual client delivery, they almost have as much value, if not more, than at the top of the funnel.
Both. They have. I would say it's equal value whether they are whether they're a client within the funnel, whether they're a client that is sort of mid process,
Right.
like we're
Project.
working together, and then they have just as much value as when they are a client later on, because what happens, they end up reaching out and saying, "Oh, by the way, I got somebody for you," and they send some business your way because it's just another little reminder of, yes, you know, people are getting results working together. And it's like, oh man, I remember the results that I got out of this. By the way, I got somebody to talk to you about this. And they're already set up. They already know what it's going to cost. They already know, they're fully primed. I mean, a referral close is the absolute easiest. We don't sell. We don't sell. It's
Yep.
just we get on the phone and within 15 minutes, I mean, I've got a 90% close rate within 15 minutes.
Yeah, I often look at these like interviews as one-to-many referrals because it's like this person is singing your praises, they're on demand, and it's
Right?
you can use it for the rest of the business's life, you know?
Yeah.
It's so
It
powerful.
sticks around. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, in one of the things, and you're not going to like this, but screw it because I do. We haven't been able to use the vouch system. You've probably seen it as much as I would like to, because the interviews are going over, and we're getting just absolute freaking gold from people. And what ends up happening is I don't even have to run them through the process, just because I may have something backed up to it, and we've gone for 45 minutes. But what has come out of that is just getting to that critical mass of the social proof that we need to fill in the gaps on our funnel process in particular. We're playing catch up right now, and once we get past that phase, then we're going to be going for the mega, you know, referral juice up, and then that's going to be a total game changer.
Yeah, it's
But
funny, Evan. Like, don't worry about that at all because it's like most of my clients are actually in the same boat. Like all of us, we're all like realizing how powerful the interviews are, and like for the people who are listening, there are certain strategies we're going to use to get referrals off of the interviews, right? And what Evan's getting at here is like he's getting so much value out of the interview that he's not having bandwidth. It's like we're just focusing on that, and that's where all the returns are coming from at this point.
yeah, and the returns have been enormous.
So let's talk about that for a second. Like, talk me through like some of the wins, like that day you messaged me last week. What was that about?
That was nuts. It was one of those, just for everyone who is listening. Those days where you wake up and you're like, God damn, today is a good day. Just everything is going right from the day that you open your eyes, like from the moment that you open your eyes. That was that day for me. And this was last week. And so I had to send you a message, just because there's no other, possible way that this could happen. But there were a bunch of like contributing factors, and basically, um, I had just had like 2 marathon days of a bunch of different discovery session calls. These are like my 10 max 15-minute calls with people, and what ended up coming out of those was just let's call it a small avalanche of work and payments. And so I wake up in the morning and I see in my email inbox, and there's like 5 different emails from 5 different people, or different, one from Stripe, one from PayPal, and another that's your contract was signed and here's the payment. And it all said and done, on that single day, I woke up to $30,000 in contracts or payments on one day. On one day. And this on the same within 24-hour period. On top of that, that's when this investor, who I respect so highly, who is the canniest investor I know, smartest person in any room, she came to me and said, "Listen, I watched through your case studies, and I think they're great, and I think you should do more." And I was just blown away. And then I found out, after that, after I'd sent you that message, also same day, I actually did one of the case study interviews with another client. Turns out he had raised his full boat, like his entire, like we're talking like multi million dollars. He raised his full boat on his second pitch meeting, which, by the way, middle of April during COVID. Okay, he raised millions of dollars when everyone else is having like super horrible times. On his second meeting with an investor, he's like, I had a list of 100 investors. He's like, I had to go to 2 meetings and I was fully capitalized. Now we're going to 10x our business. Like, can you give me like more social proof than that of like
How like
those
fulfilling
work?
is it to hear that from a client? Like,
It's incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. And to be able to take that and just be able to use that in place of what people used to do, if like ask for a reference, or can I speak to one of your clients, like, yeah, here's four of them, they're talking to you, my friend. Like,
It's
yeah,
like canned goodwill. It's like canned energy that then you can like fuel your business with, basically.
yeah, can you feel how energetic I am? This is a derivative of everybody who has been giving us just amazing results that have translated into dollars. Like,
Yeah. So how are you like, how's fulfillment, service delivery side? Are you guys pretty strapped? Is that why you're hiring people, or you can handle more?
we are weekending. There are all-nighters. I have been on since we started working together, since I collected the first one. I've been on 6 days a week, call it six and a half. Just long, long days because we're just getting really, really busy. Like, I can't, but we're barely keeping up. We're barely keeping. I shouldn't be doing this right now. Like,
I appreciate you making the time. I really do. I really do. Do you have a few more minutes, or you have a 5 o'clock stop?
no, I'm good for you. Like, I got time, Harry. Like,
Dude, I appreciate that. So let's do this. So what do you think, um, if you had to summarize, you know, why do you think things have improved? Why do you think you've done 60,000 in the last 60 days, 2 months?
I mean, all right, so we talked about 60. Um, that's just the uptick, right? That's
Ah,
just
the
directly.
delta.
Yes, that is incremental. So 60K up in over the course of 60 days. So, I mean, it's been pretty enormous for us. And on top of that, by the way, didn't mention it before. We had to raise prices and no pushback, any like nothing,
Great.
zero, no
Great. So
problem.
I wanted to hear if there was something else, because like it's not only the assets, it's like you're gonna be able to raise your prices. That's fantastic. So that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, it's because you're then taking um, you're taking a process that's really working well, and you're just putting it on steroids and just allowing everybody to just know what is working and how other people are doing it, whether they're a big business, small business, somewhere in between, whether they have huge track record or had never had a meeting with an investor in their life. How can we help you, right? And so that um, that number that I told you about, this 60, that's just the delta. I mean, we're up massively. And that's why we're on 6.5 days. And some days, like last night, I got 4 hours sleep. That's okay. I'm good because this is awesome, right? I know a lot of people are hurting right now, and the best thing that makes us feel good is that I can pay bonuses to my team, and they're super super grateful um, to be just like crushing it, and everybody is, and
They gotta
everybody's.
feel confident, like they can like rest easy that they're like, I know Evan is at the helm, like we've got business, like things are going
Oh,
well.
not really. No, I'm not at the helm. I'm kind of like like trying to dig myself out right now. I shouldn't be taking on so much work, but because it's coming, like that's why I said we had to raise our prices. So all right, fine, whatever. We'll keep doing work. But yeah, it's been enormous. And coming back to the why, I would put that directly attributable to these assets that we have put together. And the reason why is we haven't done anything different. I have not changed any of our processes. Okay. Um, with Bart, let's call it minor tweaks, but the minor tweaks have been centered around directing people to wall of proof content, specific case studies, quotes, proof shots, watch these videos. That's what's been the tweaks. Okay. That's how we've tweaked our processes. And that's how we've ended up with this, incremental, enormous, uptick in business. And so the only thing that I can say that is the major difference is just that. So when I look at it as to how has this happened and how have the stars aligned? Okay, you've got COVID and people maybe have a little bit more time, but a lot of people have less money. So,
And I
and
imagine this environment is typically like the economy's down. I guess the economy's a little bit up now, but like who knows if it's going to go back down. A lot more volatility in the market. Like investors are typically less inclined to cut checks in these environments, right?
very much true. So the VCs themselves, on that side of things, VCs, like whatever they had before, cut that in half. And so that doesn't mean that they're writing, checks for half the size. It means they're writing half the number of checks. So it's much more competitive. So yes, in a way that gives a little bit more wind in our wings as far as the sales process and belief points and whatnot. But realistically, what what that means in wider economy type of things means early stage businesses are going to be less and less of our business mix, which is
Clientele.
perfectly fine because we're geared toward midlife businesses anyway. But on the other side of the funding equation, you've got high net worth individuals that they pulled all their money out of the market at the start of COVID. Like that's why it took a huge tank because everybody pulled their money out and they're like, dude, I'm sitting on cash. I want to write checks like now,
I
and
need
I
to
want
deploy this.
I want smart businesses to cut the checks into. And so that's what really our clients. That's where they're at. They're like playing squarely in that. Somebody just pulled 20 mil out of the market, and
Super
I want
angels.
half a mil out of him and his five buddies and the VC that they're tied into. That's where a lot of our clients are at. Some later, some much bigger. But yeah, it's had an immense effect on us. So during COVID, right? Think about this. During COVID, we're we're up 60K in within 60 days of starting. And on top of that, I'll put a little cherry on this. Also true, we have stopped outbound LinkedIn or organic. We have
Dude,
stopped. We are
dude, I
not
love
advertising.
it.
We had it before and we stopped it during this period in time and we're still up. There's only one explanation, and that's our work together.
The one other thing that just came to me, and I can't imagine that we completely forgot this, but remember when we first started, you sent out that first batch of emails asking people to do interviews, and one of those people who came back to you, what happened off that email? Do you remember that too? Do you
Oh
remember
my
this?
God, yeah, the first guy that came back, that was hilarious. I had no idea that I knew that he raised money, but I didn't know that it was this crazy. Basically, he came back to me saying, I don't need the money that you're gonna pay me for this interview, but I do need to tell you a couple things. One, I raised money. Two, I raised it in 13 days, which is like what? Like 13 days after we worked together, this dude raises the better part of $1 million. Like 13 days, he had cash in his bank. Like this is all right. So that's like part two, fantastic. And then the third part of it was that he came back and said, "Oh, and by the way, I have another project for you." So yeah, like just instant. We can't. You can't put. I mean, you can put a number on that ROI, but it's immense because from when we started working together and then when I started sending the first batch of emails, which I was late on that, so my fault. But probably 3 weeks into working together, then we
I think you
have
signed up and then we like pushed pause and we did a kickoff date like 2 or 3 weeks later. But it
yeah,
was
yeah,
still like
yeah,
within that first week you sent the emails.
yeah, and it was enormous. And so he comes back and says, "Okay, well, I have a new job for you," and we're talking like a high ticket job, and that's incredible. And so number one, you get a case study. Number two, you get a dynamite case study that says exactly why people should be working together. And number three, hey, here's some more business. Like,
Yeah,
why
my
would
point of bringing that up is like it's like the value you got. It wasn't like the back end. It was like instant and consistent throughout.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was exactly that, Harry. It was exactly that. It was. Um, it was very much. What is it that they say? Like, if you are, you can't deferred gratification, like delayed gratification. If you're a delayed gratification, you can't stand that, and you need like something fast, and that is going to do. Well, that's this. There's no delayed gratification in something like that. I had not only an asset that I could use, a really amazing one, and I also had new business.
It was a
So,
touch point. It reminded them, it was like a marketing asset for you. Like the ask for the interview sparked them to be like, "Oh yeah, can I give you more money? Can I hire you again?"
hey, can you do this? Why not? Why
Sure, let's
not?
do it.
Yeah.
So going back, like when we were doing our sales call, like why did you decide to do business with me?
Honestly, it was because I looked at the system, and I was just like, this, you nailed it. You nailed it. And there's actually some more stuff that we're going to talk about how to even kick that up even further.
We're not
But
done
just,
yet. There's more for us to do.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But the the fundamental of how you go about just layering every single asset into every step of this process, it was just exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I had been searching for the longest time, for the longest time, and just seeing that when somebody nails it, and especially with knowing that a single sale for us is going to have a big effect, then I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, like, this is what I've been looking for the longest time, because I know what the ROI, what I thought it was going to be. And guess what? Point proven, with the first guy who comes back saying, oh, by the way, can I give you more money? And also an easy client to work with, too. So,
Yeah,
why not? You know?
yeah, yeah. No, I love it, and I think like me trying to remember back to our call, it was like definitely on the shorter side, like really quick, and you were just like super professional, really focused
Because
and
I knew what
systematic.
I
And
wanted.
then I
I
was
knew
like, all
what I
right,
wanted.
you knew what you wanted, and I was like, I'm pretty systematic too. So I was like, all right, here's how we're going to systematically collect these assets. Here's how we're going to systematically use them each point. And you just like got it right away. You're like, all right, cool. How do we do this?
Because we do that too. We do that too with our client filtering funnel, to like kick anybody out who is probably going to be a bad fit, so that we don't waste each other's time. And and so when you started talking to me about the systemization of how and where and when you just strategically layer these things into the process, I was like, man, this is what we're doing, but on the lead funnel intake side of things, and just making sure that when we're booking strategy sessions, we're spending good time. I was like, this is what's going to just blow that up enormously, and it has, and it has. So
So
yeah, it was very good that it was a short call, because the moment that I saw that what you were doing, I was like, oh man, yeah.
did you feel like anything like what kicked you over the fence? Did you need any kicking over the fence? Do you feel like there was anything?
Nope. I didn't need kicking over the fence. I was already over the fence before you knew that I was over the fence.
Yeah, yeah, that's I think I didn't obviously I didn't share this, but like I was kind of a little bit taken aback. I was like, wow, he's like wants to move really fast through this. Okay, like maybe he'll buy. And it was like either he's already made a decision and he just needs me to like make sure that I'm not crazy, or like I don't know, it's not gonna work. But it ended up that I think yeah,
I
you
hope
had
I
already
didn't give it
arrived
away.
at huh?
I hope I didn't give it away.
No, you didn't. I was just like, okay, like either this is like gonna be a very easy sale or like I don't know what, but it was just,
It's going to be somebody like totally messing you around that has
yeah.
no intention, but knows everything about what you're doing. Like,
Kicking the tires, just yanking my chain or something. I don't know. But anyway, um,
yeah.
so who do you think, yeah, who do you think we're a good fit for?
All right. So I'm not going to tell you who I
Actually,
think you're.
real quick, before you answer that, like, would you recommend other people work with us? I know it might be obvious at this point, but I'd love to hear just, in your own words.
Mm. Um, all right. This is the part of the video that you're going to edit out, because I'm going to say I wholeheartedly recommend that anyone work with. No, seriously though. Yes, I do. And but you have to be a very specific type of candidate. And just like the way that we try and get very, very specific in who we work with, I also look at it from your perspective too. And the people who this is going to have a very large effect on are people who are successful in their own right, who have been struggling like we have in collecting those assets that they need to just make that process of bringing in clients so much easier. And I know that it started to be about the referral thing. And for us, it was also about the referral coming into it. But now we've seen so much benefit on the front of the funnel. That's why we're focused on that part right now.
We
So,
don't have the bandwidth to like do anything else quite yet.
but you don't have to. You don't have
Yeah.
to. The only thing is, if you have that collection process already nailed, then you're already in in good enough shape to then start focusing on the referral business,
Yep.
right? We never had that. And so it started off being about the collecting the referral, but then it just quickly became, holy crap, we have we now finally have a process of how to collect and capture the really, really dynamite content that I can shout from the rooftops all day long and say, I can say enough about our business and what we've done that you won't believe me because it's unfucking believable. But when it comes out of somebody else's mouth, very different story.
Yep.
So that's where I think it helps actually a lot for us, which is just getting over that trust and credibility gap. Even if we are ranked number one on every platform, you still have that question mark coming in as a client of, are they really number one though, or have they just gamed the system? But when you have a client saying it, then then it's a completely different thing. So who is this going to be the best for? It's going to be the best for somebody who has a going business, who is going pretty well, making money, and things are going pretty good, and you have a focus on reputation, and you do want to hit that number one in whatever your niche is. If you want to be number one in whatever your niche is, then it just starts off of not wasting your time with people who are a bad fit, and you can turn down more sessions if the ones that you do have are your conversion rate goes from 20% to 50%. Then yeah, you absolutely have a business that is in a completely different setup. So I would say, speaking from our perspective, if you've got a going business and you want it to be just getting to the really, this is like the funniest, most American thing to say, but if you want to take your business to the next level, like, then yeah, but that's like a real thing.
No, I hear you. And I think like the way I would maybe summarize it is like you said you want to be number one, and I would say similarly, it's like you really care about getting clients results. Like you actually want to deliver outcomes, right? And then maybe you have at least the bare bones of like your business in place. You're making some money, right? You know a little bit of sales, you know a little bit of marketing. You have a decent offer, but you're looking for how do I basically take those things, do them better, and just like get more sales with less effort because you're just documenting what you're doing already better,
Yeah,
if that makes
yeah.
sense.
You could even do this like very early on. I mean, if I had this, because we only started our business, I mean, we formed an entity like 2.5 years ago,
Okay.
and like, so we've done pretty well. But if we had this 2.5 years ago, I think we would be on another planet by now. Like, really, it would. I wish. I am happy and I am fortunate that we met, and I'm happy and fortunate that we had the good sense to work together. But if we had this 2.5 years ago, then we would be just like, there's, doing well, and then there's extremely well, and we're very busy, and then crushing it, and then just fucking flat out. That's where we would be. So
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you think about it, you don't need a ton of clients to leverage this process. You just need like one or two badass case studies to get this kind of engine cranking. And then it gets easier to keep cranking the engine. You know what I mean?
but if you're the sort of person who's delivering really fantastic results to somebody and you're focusing on making sure that you get those fantastic results, then they are going to happen. And clients, when they feel that they've gotten outstanding results, like me, for example, in this relationship, they want to talk about it. They want to talk about how well it's gone. And they want to sing your praises. And if you give them the forum to be able to do so, I mean, just use the content correctly. There's
Yeah.
easy.
So if someone's on the fence listening in right now, why should they take action right now?
If you are a person who is a good fit based on what I have said, if even if you're early on, but you have a couple of clients that you're like, man, I know that we did a good job with them, and I know that they would be open to talking about it, then if you don't have this process already nailed down, you need it. Because what's the opportunity cost of sitting on your hands? And what's the opportunity cost of that success? Are you unprofitable? Good, then get in. Are you in a position where you're kind of stalled and things are going well, but you're just sort of like ticking along down this month, up this month, and you just don't know then good, get in it. I mean, it's if you're on the fence and you know that you need this, you really know. There's no like you can't kid yourself. You know in your gut that you need something, then just do it. Because what I found, and one of the things that we're trying to do and be more successful with is you gotta just make decisions faster. You gotta make decisions faster. And when you know that you want something, then you have to be able to move quickly. It's not because it's like a pressure tactic or something. It's things will weigh on your mind, and you'll sit there thinking about something for 2 hours that night. And you'll think about it for an hour and a half and traipse around on the internet for 5 hours over the next 3 days. And realistically, if you want things to grow, you need to cut that part of your life out of the, do I kick this back and forth? And do I need to do it? And what? If you have enough of the information to be able to do it, you have to 80-20 the decision and say, you know what, screw it, let's do it. Thought about it. All right, let's go. Job done. So that you can free up all of that mental time to go back and then start doing things that will, help build your business. So that's my advice to somebody who's on the fence.
Yep. No, I love it. And I think the one point at the beginning you were saying about just like if you're on the fence, you're probably not really on the fence. Like maybe
You're
you're
not.
just
You're
you're
just
just
you just want to
anxious.
sit around and yeah, you're just a little bit anxious and you don't know that you're, mentally ready to make the decision yet. I will say this, I'll say this categorically, all right? If you think it's like a Henry Ford thing, right? Whether you think you can't or you think that you can, either way, you're right.
It's true.
So if you think on some level that you need this and this would help your business, then whether you think it will or you think that it won't, either way, you're right. But either way, you should just make a decision faster because I'll stand here hand to heart and say all day long, like, we got major, major ROI. Fact. And you can't fake this sort of discussion. Like, I mean, it's simple, but for people like that are spinning their own wheels, you just have to say at some point, all right, I'm going to do it. Let's go for it because it's time. It's time. That's
Awesome.
it.
So Evan, what's your number one piece of advice for coaches and consultants, just in general?
My number one piece of advice, as you can tell, I'm a pretty verbose person, but I'm going to try and distill it down to one thing. Focus on your reputation. When you have a reputation for excellence and you always deliver on time, every time, consistent excellence, that brilliance will come. And then and business will be very, very easy to do. And you don't have to do everything under the sun perfectly in order to excel and to do well. Look at Apple Computer, for example. Very, very simple and easy analogy. Everybody knows Apple. Apple was struggling for a long, long time until one thing came out that just dominated everything. I'm talking about the iPod, in fact, and it was one thing that
Yep.
that took the company from pretty good into holy crap. You think that they were the only one who did the
MP3 player.
P3 player? No, I bought a Rio. I saw the Microsoft one, which was garbage, by the way. Everybody did it all wrong, but they did the one thing right, one thing absolutely perfectly. And so, if you can do one thing really, really well, and then make sure that when people are considering either working with you or whatnot, that they know about it, how you do things, then life will be very, very easy for you.
I love it. I love it. That's such a great analogy. And like, I don't know if you know, but like that's when Jobs came back to Apple. And part of it is they had all these other products they were exploring, and he just cut them all. No
Cut out
sacred
all the
cows. Cut them
and
all, and then they like that's when they started their rise to this $1 trillion company. You know?
exactly. That was like for me, yes, okay, you have all the backstory and all of what was Apple before, the Macintosh and whatnot. But that's when it really kicked off. That's where the real accelerating moment, when we throw out all the garbage, we just focus like a laser on what works. That's why I've been spending my time, just so much time on making sure that we get our asset placement with these assets um, as correct as we possibly can and get our workflows together as much as we possibly can, because that's the single accelerating factor. And I can see it, I can feel it, I can touch it, that this is what works, and this will take us to the next stage of our business's growth. And so when you, as somebody who is looking at this from the outside looking in, when you can simplify everything that you're doing and maybe cut things out of what you're doing in order to make room for the only thing that you should be doing that will take you into the stratosphere, then that's when you open yourself up really mentally and business wise for a lot of personal growth, professional growth, and just
Financial
just
growth.
yeah, financial growth. Thank you.
So,
That's when you
what's
call me.
what, yes. What's next for you in the next like 30 to 90 days? What's on deck for Unicorn Business Plans?
So what I have on my plate is I want to hit critical mass with what we're doing right now. I think off of the very limited, because I run three businesses on the daily, right? So this is just one of them. But
I
kind of
didn't know that. That's another story. We have to talk about that later.
yeah. So this is just one of them. But mm, as far as this is concerned, I'm trying to spend my hours, building this out further and just getting to that critical mass. Because in the limited time that I've applied to this, we have like a customer list, like 300 people with fantastic stories, right? Because that part I've gone through it. Haven't sent out all the emails because I just don't have freaking time. But when we get to that critical mass of just 10, really good ones, then that's when we're going to shift gears into let's go, pardon me, referral focus type of workflow. And just because I know what effect that this has had so far, I want to build that critical mass. Once we have the critical mass built, then it's time. Let's go for referrals. And this is going to sound so freaking crazy, and so many people are going to hate me. But you know what? Love being a black sheep anyway. Um, we are probably going to press pause on all of our outbound because referrals are that powerful when you're doing it right, that you can turn just referrals of a really good process and product into your 90+% of your business, and then the rest will organically come as just like bonus clients reaching out to you of, hey, I heard about you guys from this. We didn't PR it. Like I have literally had clients, not even kidding, but like part of this, I've literally had clients say, yeah, we wanted to work with you guys. I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, listen, we heard about you guys from the VCs in Silicon Valley. And I'm like, I don't know any VCs in Silicon Valley. I don't. I've never. I haven't spoken with directly with Silicon Valley VCs, not recently. And he's like, yeah, we heard about you from these and these guys. And I'm like, you never know where your name goes
Right,
when
right.
you're doing good things, and it just people end up just talking about you, and you end up with tons and tons of inbound. And then that's when you turn on the ad flows, and because you have enough cash to be able to develop whatever assets you need, landing pages, spend money on ads and whatnot. Because when they're landing on something, they're landing on dope ass, very technical term, dope ass case studies.
It's so interesting that you say that because like that's like it just makes me think of like how VC firms run. Like they often say like you can't don't apply through the website. You have to come through a referral, right? Like there's these high-end boutique business models out there that are evidence of what you're talking about, where you can get a lot of stuff coming in through referrals, through word of mouth, all because of reputation and the results you've gotten for people in the past.
Yeah, and that's the only way. Or I shouldn't say that's the only way to win because there are many other ways to win. But at least in that game, as far as financing, that's the easiest way to win, which is just do a really freaking good job in everything that you do. Make sure that you're just gunning for number one, gun for number one, and you'll get there.
And if you do that in your space, like all the guys that you serve, they're used to that in the VC. So they're going to have like a mental model about that. And it's going to help build your brand and your prestige and all that stuff. You know, it's like, oh, we don't take direct applications, you know, like you have to know somebody.
Use it, teach it, and preach it. I mean, that's the sort of next step of our business. I mean, that's why I say I run three. So here's an interesting one to just like sort of close us out.
Yeah.
If
Close
you
us
want to
out.
close out, or if there's I don't know
I've
if
got
there's
one other question and then we can wrap, man.
okay. Well then, here is like the most interesting thing that came my way. For a long time, um, my partner and I have looked at, do we form a VC? Because we're getting just immense results. Like, all right, put it this way: if you're a business that you're about to go raise your first, institutional round, we're talking like from VCs or whatnot, if you're going to try and raise more than $1 million, then your chances of success are between 5 and 10% on average, just a fact. To raise a single dollar, right? 5 to 10%. Our clients are raising 85% of the time. Okay, so what does that tell you? These are am I just so good at picking up who's going to be the winners? I don't I don't
Who
think so.
who has an early look at all these companies that people invest in? You do.
Right. And so, we're looking at it as, all right, it's clearly there's something in here, and there's something to do here. And we're like, do we start cutting checks now? Because now with the business that we're doing, yes, we can be cutting small checks in a number of different ones. And so that's been on our radar for a while now. And I reached out to a bunch of the people on our list in this process of like, okay, hey, do you want to do a case study interview and whatnot? One of them comes back and says, we want to hire you again, which another, common response, hey, can we pay you more money? Um, and we end up actually having a chat. I turned down the money, funny enough, but we ended up having a chat, and he's like, "Yeah, there's a VC that wants to cut us a $3 million check. Can you take a look at this?" And we just had a couple of chats, and it turned out that now we're talking about them being one of our portfolio companies that is going to be in our VC. So, I mean, it's not just the one business even. It's not just the one business. It flows over. It has flown. it flowed whatever over into the other business that we're doing, and that's it's like lead gen for the other business. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of positivity.
Cool, man. Well, Evan, thank you so much for your time. You've been more than gracious to give me this much time with you. Where can people find out more about you online?
The only place that I would send them to is www.unicornbusinessplans.com/work. And then you'll see everything that you need to know about us and what we do and the sort of cool stuff that everybody's so hyped about, what I'm so hyped about.
Evan, amazing, man. Well, I can't wait to see what happens the next couple months. I'm looking forward to working with you further. And yeah, let's talk soon. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Harry. Bye.
Bye.